Some big news in the football world. The owner of the Washington Commanders is reportedly close to a deal to sell his team for the low price of $6 billion. That would be a record for any sports franchise in North America, right? Now, you're like, Hallie, wait a second. Why are you talking about the sale of a sports team? Why is that national news? Dan Snyder is not just any owner of any sports team, right? He is an owner who is in the spotlight in a serious way, facing a series of allegations from a toxic culture that includes alleged sexual harassment of cheerleaders and female employees to alleged financial misconduct and bank fraud. Congress is looking into some of this. Snyder has denied all of the allegations you see on screen there. The reported new owners are led by a group that includes Josh Harris, who also owns the Sixers in Philly and the NHL's New Jersey Devils, and NBA Hall of Famer Magic Johnson, who's a part owner of the LA Dodgers. Ben Standig joins me now, a senior writer for The Athletic, who covers the Commanders. I know there are Commanders fans out there tonight, Ben, who are like, finally, relief. I mean, I know some of those Commanders fans personally, right? But this is certainly not a done deal yet, the sale.
Not a done deal. They've come to an agreement in principle. It's not exclusive, though. So in theory, somebody else could jump in. There was another group coming out of Canada that put in a bid for essentially the same $6 billion. So I think they still think they're involved. Okay. But at this point, it looks like Josh Harris.
I think the big question that a lot of people have, and I will tell you a big question that I have, because we've covered the saga of Dan Snyder and these allegations, again, in D.C. Like, there's a lot to this. What does this potential sale mean for all of those investigations against Snyder? We heard from the lawyers who represent more than 40 Commanders employees who say today marks the end of a long and difficult chapter for workers. Tell me what this means writ large for those accusations.
I think those accusations are still going forward. D.C. has a situation going on involving not just Dan Snyder, but the NFL and how everything's been handled. Eastern District of Virginia is looking into bank fraud. The NFL's own investigation, led by Mary Jo White, still looking into allegations made against Dan Snyder specifically, as well as how the organization handled their own finances. All these things are still going forward. What happens? Do we continue to talk about it in the same way? I don't know about that. Dan Snyder supposedly was looking for cover from the league if he were to go ahead and sell. And I think that is a question that we all have asked. Is he going to be held accountable if, depending what happens?
Pull that thread. Explain what you mean. Do you mean that if he becomes now a former owner, that perhaps the NFL might not be so, the speculation is that the NFL would be less aggressive in going after him? Or help us understand that.
In terms of their own investigation, I think we all are kind of wondering what's going to happen. Okay. Roger Goodell just repeated the other day at the owners meeting that they will release these findings.
Okay.
What those findings will look like, that's going to be the question, and how scrubbed over is it, I guess. We'll see. But the rest of it, yeah, everybody's still going forward. I believe I saw the D.C. Attorney General today said they are still moving forward on their case, and the Washington Post reported that. So, yeah, Dan Snyder is not off the hook as far as we know with any of this, but nonetheless, people may pull back to a degree if he's out of the way.
A question mark is what you're saying there.
Yeah.
Sure, he may not be off the hook. He's going to be richer by a lot because $6 billion is a tremendous amount of money. I don't think I have to tell you that, or anybody that. He bought the team for $800 million back in 1999. What was the leverage factor here? How did he get so much for this team? Is it because the NFL writ large is just so darn lucrative?
Right. Even if it's viewed like Dan Snyder selling a distressed property, it's not. It's the NFL. Yeah. It is the cash cow of cash cows, and people want to get into that exclusive club. There's only obviously 32 owners for these teams. So, yeah, that's why people were willing to do it. Josh Harris, as we mentioned, he last year tried to buy the Denver Broncos, came up short there. He obviously owns an NBA and an NHL team. Now he adds to that portfolio. Magic Johnson was with him trying to get the Denver bid. Now he's here as well. So, yeah, whatever Dan Snyder is dealing with, they want the team.
You know, it's funny. A lot of people in D.C., there was some speculation. Could it be Jeff Bezos? Could he be making him play? It turns out, not the case here.
That one always seemed to be a bit wishful thinking,
yeah.
That people were like, it makes sense on some levels, but he did show some interest, but never got any real sense that he was a real bidder on this.
Ben Standig, thank you very much. I'm sure this is not the last time we'll talk. Appreciate it.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.